what are some of the unique features that sets ICT apart?
We manufacture all of our own products. Unlike some of the competitive products, with ICT, we control the supply line A to Z. We don't charge ongoing fees. Very helpful for our partners because our partners can control their costs.
The DIN-Rail design, scalability of the product. You can start out in our entry and you can kind of go at your own pace.
ICT, straight out of New Zealand. Why don't we start off with where you guys come from and or how you came to know ICT?
Absolutely. Yep. My name is John Herman. I'm the regional sales manager, and I'm from Weymouth, Massachusetts. I came to know ICT because I was in the security space, video surveillance, access control, and intrusion. I came upon ICT as there was a role open for a regional sales manager to develop Northeast region, and I jumped at the opportunity, and I've been with the company about 15 months now, and really enjoying the journey.
Awesome. And what about you, Ed?
Yeah, so I came to ICT about 7 years ago. I previously was working for an integrator who sold ICT. So that's how I came to know about the product. To me as an integrator, which was really nice to come from that background. Yeah, I knew a lot about the product and what it could do and not do. So the transition coming to be a manufacturer's rep was seamless for me in that aspect. But then meeting guys like you in your company when I was brand new here 7 years ago and very green is then it's a huge part of what I do in the benefit that I get from being out here. So working with guys like you. So yeah.
Awesome. And you recently moved up from your Northeast position to another position in ICT, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I was the regional sales director. John Herman is now, and I got moved up to a regional director, and I oversee 3 regions. So I oversee the Northeast, I oversee the Ohio Valley, and I also oversee the Midwest. So yeah, the company is growing quite a bit. So yeah,
it's great to hear. And ICT is an international company, right? It's not just New Zealand or United States. They've gone into different markets.
Correct. Yeah. So we're obviously in Auckland, New Zealand. That's where all our manufacturing happens. We have an office in Australia. We're building up in Southeast Asia. And we also have a big office we opened up probably 2 years ago now in Toronto, Canada. So yeah, we are definitely an international, a worldwide company, I should say. So yeah.
Sounds good. So now I guess the first question is, where have you guys ever had matcha?
I've had it a little bit.
You've had it a little bit?
Yep.
Never had
excited.
It? All right.
Never had it.
John, where have you had it before? You were mentioning it was an Asian...
Yeah, it was an Asian concept in Boston. It's like a puff pastry. The company's called Beard Papa. And we had it just to try it. I like to try. I'm one of those guys, I'll try anything once. Usually I always try it again because I usually like just about everything I try. Yeah, and I liked it. I really did.
Great. So the first step is you need to have a matcha whisk. This is a new whisk, so we'll open it up right here. I have one at home, but this is... I would just edit this out wherever. And a good whisk is actually glued in there. So this is a handmade whisk. You break it out, and you got a good one. And I use a wooden matcha scoop. This is a little bigger than what you'd normally do. This is for a high dose of matcha, but everybody has their tolerances, depending on how much caffeine you like. Make sure this is good. All right. My mother calls me in the middle of the thing. All right, so everybody makes it differently. Traditionally, the purists will do it hot with hot water. Pour a little bit of hot water, whisk it, and then maybe a little bit more hot water. I like lattes. That's how I have my coffee. So I basically make a matcha latte with milk. The purists would not be happy with that. So drop a little bit of milk and...
But it can be any beverage, right, Eugene? It doesn't any liquid, or does it matter?
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be milk or milk water.
Could do milk, water, anything. I think the flavor comes out better with milk or water. It's very dependent on what, some people like a really strong flavor. So they'll make a shot of matcha. So the amount we use, just like an espresso, they'll make a shot out of it instead of making the latte. So this is... For me, it's a little bit more enjoyable, but about there.
Is there a key to a reason for the wooden spoon?
The experience, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's nothing that says you have to use one or the other, but it's definitely the wooden whisk, the wooden spoon, etc., kind of completes the whole matcha experience for me when I'm making it.
I'm sure the whisk has something to do with it because that matcha that is so fine, right?
It helps. So it's not like you have to use a protein shaker bottle or anything like that, which you can do technically, but I find when I've tried it to try to make it quickly in the morning, and it doesn't grind it up as fine and mix it in as well. Come go on. Do another splash.
Look at this, Ed. Man, you didn't know you were going to find a new caffeine alternative here.
Do you drink coffee?
Oh,
Religiously, right?
Religiously?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
How many have you had today?
So I've had one tall Starbucks, regular.
So not venti, the call? Or what do they call it at Starbucks?
Yeah, so, yeah, then.
Venti? That's the big one? What's the biggest one at Starbucks?
That's a good question. I'm a Dunkin' guy, so I'm the guy that when I go to Starbucks,
I go to Dunkin' too.
I order a large.
I'm a Dunkin'.
I don't do that. Those funny names. I can't do it. I have to. I'm a purist. And I never order a small anything.
You're the Dunkin' guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I am.
Medium or large, Mm-hmm. I used to love the extra large with an iced coffee. Extra large iced coffee was good because that could last you.
Do you remember? Well, it's gone now, but it was a big deal growing up, and I'm a big iced coffee guy from Dunkin'. But you could ask for the styrofoam cups.
Oh yeah,
and then when you
insulate it,
you would put your plastic medium into the start, and that coffee and that ice would last you.
Yeah, even a 90-degree day, that would last you all day.
Yes.
It would insulate it for you.
It was like a Yeti.
Kind of.
Yeah. But then they stopped. They realized they were spending way too much money on cups.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
Stop.
Well, you had to give them a quarter.
Yeah, they started charging you.
And they
for
got
the
rid
cup.
of styrofoam.
Really?
But I usually, a lot of times, if I'm on the road, I will get a coffee wherever I go.
Yeah.
And I will pour it right into my cup. If I'm driving around and I have my Yeti with me or, whatever cup my wife has given me, the newest, latest, greatest cup, then I will just pour it right in there. And it does the same thing. It lasts all day.
So what's your favorite cup that your wife has given you?
Oh, yeah. She's going to hear this. So right now I have a Stanley. That's the newest one. And she swears by that thing. And, I think it's the everybody of her age that's the thing they think. And it works fine, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've bought many of them at the regular store that have been just as well. But I will tell you that the Stanley, because the Stanley has a screw top, I think it holds the temp better than a Yeti. Because the Yeti, it's only a pop top.
Oh, it flips on.
Yeah, but I think the Stanley, I don't know, I hate to admit that to my wife, but you fill that thing full of ice, it'll stay that way. Thank you, sir.
So let me ask you, what brought you to matcha? How did you get to where you're at today?
Caffeine. So
Caffeine. Okay.
So my problem with it is I'm very sensitive to caffeine. Part of that was from working out in a previous life and taking a lot of pre-workout supplements, a lot of caffeine. So I ended up having some, not health problems, but I started getting like heart palpitations and things like that. So I just stopped cold turkey and I started, I wanted something to keep energy throughout the day. It was tough just going off of caffeine, like 300 milligrams a day, which is a lot, and taking it right in the morning as soon as you wake up to go for a workout. So I did some research, and caffeine in matcha is a slower release throughout the day. Some people get a crash from caffeine midday. You really don't get it with matcha, and it has antioxidants and stuff like that. Today, I'll still do caffeine from a coffee once in a while, but I'll try to do decaf. And even then I get a little sensitive, but depending on what type it is. But just if I have caffeine too many days in a row, and then I go off, I'll start getting headaches and withdrawal symptoms. It's bad. Never had that with matcha.
Oh, so this is your caffeine fix.
This is my caffeine fix. Exactly. And it doesn't boost you up too much, but it gives you that morning feeling that you're always looking for. And it's really rich in antioxidants like polyphenols, which protect against, heart disease, cancer, stuff like that. So I like it as a part of a holistic, diet. Just, it's another checkbox is the way I look at it.
Excellent. Yeah. Extending the life, right?
Yep.
That's the key.
Yeah, she is. This is awesome. Oh, it's good.
It's mild. Yeah.
Not as bad as you thought.
I mean, I saw the green. I'm not gonna lie, right?
Everybody's worried it's going to be really earthy.
This could be really
And I think you can change it, like you said, because it depends on what you mix it in. Like,
Yeah.
I can taste the oat milk, which I like oat milk or almond milk.
It depends what you like. You can also make it stronger, so you could do less milk. I made it a little bit more like a latte, just in case you guys weren't a fan. But you'll notice like mine has a little less milk, so you can do it a little bit more like that, or even do it like a cortado. You know, a cortado is really just a shot with half espresso, half milk. So you can do the same here, half milk, just the size of a shot, and then you're
Kicking up a notch.
then you're really getting the umami flavor from the matcha. So
Perfect.
glad you guys like it. So so we'll get into a little bit more of a discussion on this then about ICT. So my first question is, what are some of the unique features that sets ICT apart from others in the market? So what are some of the things that make it unique?
Yeah. So I think, first thing, we manufacture all of our own products, A to Z. We manufacture our own controllers, our own card readers. So unlike, some of the competitive products where they rely on an industry standard component, which may sound like a good thing, but, when supply chains, issues come up like we've run into the last couple of years, that becomes a major setback when you've got lots of companies looking to utilize that same product. With ICT, we control the supply line A to Z. That's one big part. Another big piece is we don't charge ongoing fees for our product services. So there are no licensing fees with ICT. So it's very helpful for our partners because our partners can control their costs in that way. They still get the same features and benefits and functionality improvements, but they don't have to pay those sometimes exorbitant annual licensing fees. Those are two big things that come to mind. Ed, anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, right out of the gate would be the DIN rail design, the scalability of the product. You can start at your 2 or your 4-door solution and go up to hundreds of doors if you want, just by adding more DIN rail. I think the feature sets within GX in the ability for someone like you to cloud host their own on-prem server and be able to offer that to your clients. Really, you can start out in our I'll call an entry level WX system, and you can kind of go at your own pace, which is really what Mammoth did when we first met. Yeah, we'll check it out. And it worked for a while until you outgrew that. You got guys kind of gobbled that up and went on to GX. But not only are you guys able to grow, you're able to bring your clients along that journey as well without saying, hey, we're going to upgrade your system from, say, a WX to a GX system, our enterprise level stuff. And we're not going to rip everything out of your building. We're just going to change this controller. We're going to add some software. And, off you go. Now you have an enterprise level system. So I don't think a lot of other products on the market really offer that option. So it's that flexibility, I think is big. And then the features, things like data sync that we have embedded in our software where, you can sync up with a third party system and share that information. That's, I think, is becoming bigger and bigger out there is in banks. And John and I do a lot of banks, their HR, they want to sync up that information. So they want to share that with their access control system. And we're able to do that. Those are just some of the things top of mind that I can add to the mix.
Yeah, and I know we've run into that personally with ICT where during COVID, everybody had product availability issues. There really weren't any from ICT. There might have been a time where enclosures were a problem, but that's like the only thing you don't make yourself. You're not cold pressing your own metal enclosures, so nobody would do that. So that was the only part. And we were still able to get controllers, especially to swap in place and do takeovers of a lot of these legacy systems that we won't say the name of that use those controllers that were on back order for a year.
Right.
So we ran into a lot of that as well. So it's definitely helpful to have your own controllers. And we find that a lot of the companies, a lot of times somebody would look at it as a downside of it being your controller, right? But we've run into it 1,000,001 times where we come in, and even though it's using that generic board, the software that's overlaid onto it is proprietary. And there's no way to work with that or put in that generic board from another manufacturer. You still have to technically get it from that manufacturer. So even though it's quote unquote open architecture, as we know, it's really not at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And we've found that your single door controllers and the expanders have been a great solution. So like we have a project going on right now in Northern Connecticut where they have a legacy system that's very, very old. It's an old Honeywell WinPEC system. Everything's home run to one location in different parts of the building, in different IT rooms. And then multiple vendors came in. It's a big corporate campus. They have about 90, 100 doors or so. So big corporate campus, one hand doesn't talk to the other. Another division of the company brings in a separate vendor to upgrade half of the access control system. So now they're on a new install with single door controllers. And then there's also a legacy install. Everything ran back to one spot. And we were brought in to install ICT to actually update the entire system. So we used a mix of single door controllers, multi-door expanders, and we were able to bring both of the systems together to work as one. And that's on the GX system. So it's everything cloud hosted. It meets all of the requirements for their security as well. So the corporation was happy, and now they'll have their warehouse that we did with a new installation and their main campus all on the same system. So very, very helpful when it's a multi-location company. So next question would be, are there any recent large-scale installations that you guys have heard about using ICT? Maybe not necessarily in Connecticut, but across the world. Are there any large corporations or companies that have used it?
Yeah, we have several large universities, school districts, city, town-wide school districts. And then, as Ed said before, we do many banks across the U.S. And, when we do those banks, we do their corporate campus, their IT facilities, and then their branches. And those are all done over a wide area network. But it works as if they were all direct connected, because the systems have that ability and that redundancy. If there is any network loss, that systems will continue to run. So supports the bank, supports the students' access into their buildings and dormitories, also in several manufacturing facilities also. We just recently in was that New Zealand or Australia where we did that large storage facility?
That was Australia.
It was a major project that we did.
Big, yeah. Storage, yeah.
And which banks specifically have used ICT? Are they any banks we've heard of, or are they all regional?
Well, no, they're all banks you've heard of. Are we okay to say the names of the banks or not? Or?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in Maine. There's Bangor Savings and Trust, Bar Harbor Savings and Trust, and Norway Federal Credit Union, just in Maine. Out in Kentucky, in the Ohio Valley, Stockyard Bank, Kentucky Federal Credit Union. There's a ton of them. Those are just a few. But I would say the banking vertical is probably our biggest vertical. And for us as manufacturer reps, I would guess, just a safe guess, that between the Northeast and the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, we're probably in over 175 banks in their branches, their headquarters. And I think Verix was a system that was out for a long time that went away. And I think we replaced that, seamlessly. We actually have a bridge that we can offer these banks if they want to save a little money and do it piecemeal, where we do like a Verix Snap Bus, which is a nice option. But ultimately, once it seems like a lot of these banks see the interface, they want just a Verix ripped out. It's really for the most part. But we are giving them one pane of glass. It's a truly global system. So if you're looking at the GX status pages or home pages, whatever, and all how you assign those rights is what they can see. It's a really nice user experience. So the HR person that wants to take someone out of the system, they can take it out of the system in their Workday or their PeopleSoft, and it'll happen for them in the access control system. So that's huge for saving them time and their workload. All those kinds of things come into play at that point. And really, productivity and increasing productivity, working smarter, not harder, right? That's what we're providing for these people is an access control system that, has a lot of gusto on the backside, but it's really simple. The ease of use, I think, has been our biggest part that it has helped us sell the amount of banks that we have.
Yeah, really designed for the end user, because that's the key. It's ease of use. It's all about. We make it simple and easy for them to use, whether it's a bank, a commercial building, a multi-res, you name it, the school. Those are good examples because they want it to be real easy, simple, perform a lockdown, one button, keep it real easy.
Yeah, one thing that we've really enjoyed is the ability to access the API. Mm-hmm. So whether that's with the data loader where we can do a simple CSV sheet sync between multiple systems, whether that's a CRM or you even have the Microsoft integration as well, I know that. So there's also the API integration where we can integrate it seamlessly into any other system that has an API. So now, for example, I would imagine the banks would use that, or aerospace, where they have their own management system, obviously made for them that they're using, and they can have a custom field where whenever they let an employee go, they don't have to sign into two systems. They're just taking somebody out of one system, and that'll sync with their Microsoft system to delete their user access credentials. And then from there, just sets off an automation effect where it goes right into ICT.
Right from the access control system.
Yep.
And that's very common. And that's, the larger the company, the more important that becomes. So this really eliminating any potential human error. So one person disables it, in the multi-res space, that's very important because that's what folks are looking for. One platform, they add it into whatever their property management software is, and that in turn will funnel right through the ICT access control system to manipulate that information, either adding folks or removing folks as needed.
Yeah, we've actually custom developed a Yardi and Rent Manager integration for that, and we use it for a lot of our multifamily residential clients. It's very easy for them to manage multiple buildings. They have a custom drop down for the access level, and then we can actually set up automations where if somebody's late on their rent, they can lose access to their amenities.
And that integrates directly with.
Integrates directly, yeah. So then once you are late on rent, just automatically it bumps you down an access level because you can't legally lock somebody out of their apartment. They need free access to their apartment. However, amenities are not necessarily...
You can't use the laundry or the gym anymore.
I was going to say,
right?
so the guy walking around with the stinky clothes on, we know that he hasn't been paying his rent because he can't get into the laundry room.
That's right.
As long as the building's secured with Mammoth and ICT, then that's the
awesome.
case.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so where is ICT from? I know you're from New Zealand and you're manufactured there. Are you NDAA compliant, which is a very popular topic nowadays with the Chinese government getting caught spying on people with Hikvision cameras and the Huawei chips? So any concerns of that with ICT?
No, not at all. No, because we're manufactured in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand. So we're part of the, I believe it's called the Friendly Five is the, so we're, basically a premier trade partner with the U.S. and, our manufacturing standards are in line with the U.S. So pretty much everything with the ICT logo is directly manufactured in New Zealand and then sent here to the U.S. and distributed out of Colorado.
Good to hear. So now, how easily can your access control systems be integrated with other systems like surveillance cameras or alarm systems?
So the alarm system portion, our systems are unified. Built right into our system is an intrusion system. So you can use that, or you can integrate that to a third party if you want, just using standard inputs and outputs. The security surveillance, we have those built in, and typically we'll either integrate directly to any OnViv camera, so you can get a direct feed on an OnViv camera, or we integrate to the video management, the VMS video management system. And we do that with most all of the major players. In that space, there's, that's a continually growing space. So it's always trying to play catch up with that. But certainly the right opportunity comes up, we will build an integration if it doesn't already exist. But most of the major players are already integrated. And it's as simple as adding a license and creating the link between the two systems.
Got it. So I'm assuming that works with Avigilon?
Yes, absolutely. Avigilon is one of our partners.
And is it a license on the ICT side, or is there a cost to that, or is it a license on the Avigilon side?
No, well, the Avigilon, so what you have your Avigilon system in place, and then the integration would be on the ICT side. So licensing, sometimes there's licensing, sometimes there's not. It depends on the licensing structure of the partner, I guess, is probably the best way to put it.
Got it. Okay. So it depends if they're charging you or...
Yeah. So like with Mammoth, there is no additional licensing fee for that. Some integrators might have a different option plan with us that they might have to pay a fee.
And does your system work with any existing systems out there? I know you mentioned Verix was a popular one that gets swapped over. Are there any legacy systems that ICT specifically integrates with, or is it universal?
Yeah, you can, our system will work with anyone's really, except for I think it's Kerry Systems is proprietary from their reader to their controller. We are also now OSDP, which means you can use our readers with someone else's gear, vice versa. You can use their gear with our readers doing the OSDP communication. So really, and we'll read, on the technology side too, as far as cards and in that technology, we'll read just about anything. 26-bit HID, all the way up to your MyFair, your 13.5 megahertz. We have our own Bluetooth, NFC. So yeah, we cover all the bases when it comes to technology and what we can work with.
So really making that retrofit option really easy.
So they can reuse pretty much any existing reader. We can make it talk back into ICT. And additionally, they don't have to swipe a fob to enroll it. They can use their fob number right on it.
Exactly. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, because we can import the data from an old system right into our system, and lots of different ways. It's really, once again, just making it easy to transition folks.
Perfect. And how scalable is ICT to accommodate business growth? I'm thinking, BMS systems, the door capacity, corporate features that they would want, like, using it as a time clock. Are there any features that scale well from the small business moving into the corporate realm for somebody that's during that transition time where they're adding doors and they need a new access control system?
Oh, absolutely. It's completely scalable. That's really the way that the entire product was built. So even if you started with our entry-level system, the infrastructure throughout all of our systems is the same. So you can upgrade from two-door system and convert that into an enterprise system and basically tie in all of your pieces here. Like you said, your time and attendance, data synchronization. We can do building management, Modbus integrations. We work with a lot of those companies that provide that building management. So really, it's completely up to the customer, which it's nice because they don't have to buy it all at once. As they grow, we can grow with them.
Got it. And the building management system integration, how does that work? So do all of the sensors tied into ICT communicate back to the BMS system for it to make decisions, or does ICT's system make the decisions?
Typically, most of the building management integration has been done from the building management side. So depending upon which company you use, we do have some where we will directly control some of the low-level stuff. So it really depends on the customer, what they want. If they really want full building management, then typically you would use a third-party product to do that. Basic, low-level, building management you can do right within the ICT system.
Got it.
So sometimes we control it. Most times, someone's building management, we let that building management system control the components, and they in turn control the ICT system.
Got it. Okay. So bottom line is anything Modbus will integrate to any BMS system using Modbus into ICT?
Yep.
What is on the horizon for ICT in terms of new products or technologies? We saw that I think I saw an ad recently on the
What's coming next? Yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't tip our hat on that because we don't have that information yet. They don't tell us because they know if they tell us, we'll tell you. They hold that back for us. But we do, in the immediate future, we are in the process of rolling out our cloud-based solution we're calling Protege X. So that is in the works and continually evolving. We do have some early versions of it released today, but that will continue to improve and embrace more and more technology. We are in the process of developing our own wireless locks, online and offline locks. So those are really the two big things we have coming down the pipeline. More to come on those as they come up. Next episode, we'll give you more details. We'll certainly be able to tell you the next piece.
Yeah, there is a lot coming there as well. We recently just brought on a new CTO, and her name is Sarah Thompson. And I had the privilege of hanging out with her for a day a couple weeks ago and riding around, going from spot to spot, meeting integrators out in the Ohio Valley. And she is a very, very smart woman. She's seeing way down the tracks for ICT and the technology and what her vision is. There's a lot of good stuff that's going to be coming from her and that development and the technology. She's got some really great ideas that I shouldn't share either, but it's going to be pretty cool the way, even reskinning some of the stuff to make it more attractive to the user when they're using it, right? So make it more palatable, right? So it's just that ease. And in the phone, that's going to be the next. It is. I mean, we have mobile credentials, but more usage of your phone, even for you guys as your technicians, I should say, and being able to do stuff from the phone. It's all coming. So really excited. I was really excited when I met her and got to chat with her for the day, like I said, and she just said a lot of great things and has a lot of great ideas. So I'm looking forward to that and her being here now. She's only been here a month. Yeah, she's going to own the joint before she's done, for sure.
That's great to hear. And I believe there's a new sales manager, right? Yeah. Okay. So he took over. So there's a lot of change up at the top there.
Yeah. They're bringing in a lot of experience, in investing in that growth. And the same on the technology side, keep up with, what everyone else is doing, or do one better. And it's always been that way with ICT. They want to make it faster. They want to make it stronger. R&D side, that's always been the vision. But to see, like I said, this woman, Sarah Thompson, come in and she seems to really be taking the reins. She's got some, like I said, some great ideas. So it's going to be exciting to see what's coming down the pipe. So, yeah.
That's exciting. And how do you see the evolution of access control technology into the future, 5 years, 10 years down the line? Do you think it's going to stay the same, pretty much the status quo of what it looks like now? Or do you think there's a lot of changes to come?
I think it's just going to continue to become more and more convenient, because right now the struggle is security versus convenience. So that's what, right today you have to give up some level of comfort in order to get that security. But that's what's going to continue to change. It's going to become into that point that, we're getting to the stage where wearables devices, you can access your building from your wearable, you can have that door open from a distance, all of those things. I mean, down the road, it will be, you won't need any technology. It's going to be you. It's going to be, your face, or your hand, those different things. So all about just making it convenient, because the more convenient it is, the more people will use it. That's the biggest push right now, is that people don't want to change their lives in order to have that. Certainly buildings are forcing it, companies are forcing it, but individuals in their daily life, they don't want to be inconvenienced, but everybody wants security. So I think that's what we're going to see, is just technology is going to continue to help us improve and maintain a higher level of security, but without the inconvenience factor.
Makes sense. So does ICT work with wearables now, with the watches?
We haven't come out in the wallet yet to use on your smartwatch. That's actually one of the topics that I was talking to Sarah about.
It is in the works.
It's in the works, yeah. That should be released.
Wallets are a funny thing, because the mobile wallet, or like Google, much easier to bring to market. The Apple Wallet is a very difficult thing. It's about an 18-month process to get that, and it's between the back and forth and the validation and everything. So we do have some other partners that we work with that have the technology, so we can do it, but it's not ICT branded at the moment. So, we do support it, but it's not an ICT product.
And that's the beauty of the API, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Much faster to market. If somebody really wants it, they can make it happen.
Exactly.
Like you.
Yep. Exactly. And so let's see. Next question. So how do your access control solutions cater to the multi-tenant property space?
I think it's the simplifying and bringing it into one pane of glass, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, that if I go out and I add 100 wireless locks to my GX system, I can then, once they're added to the system, they appear in the GX system. They're not having to jump from one system to another. I think the ability to remotely unlock doors is huge, especially in the property management side. So if I'm the guy that I need to get that plumber in there on Saturday morning, I don't have to leave my house. I can browse in, I can go on the app, and I can make that happen, and not get in my vehicle and have to drive to that property. In controlling different areas of, say, a mixed-use building as well. So if I have an apartments all the way up on the top and the whole first floor is different retail spaces, I can, with the GX system, I can separate every single retail space. I can give them their own access control. I can give them their own intrusion bit that they can control separately of everybody else. So I think that scalability and the flexibility of being able to say, all right, yeah, I can do these 8 mixed use, areas on the first floor. I can do all the apartments. We have entry stations, a 17.5-inch entry station that you could put at the front door, and I can control people coming in and out with that. We now have a tenancy portal, which is a newer product release where we're going to call their cell phone. They can talk to the person, look at the person, and let them in or not, depending on who it is. So I think all those things and combined help to manage properties. We're definitely, John talked about earlier, with the locks, we want to be able to do all those things for those people and not have to use a third-party product, these wireless locks that we do integrate with, which would be even an easier and more of an advantage to the property manager, because now they have one product and it's all working together. You're not using a third party where you're having to go, maybe buy their software to deploy those locks, and then really you're not using it again. we're going to have our own locks. So it's exciting on that side. But I think we do a lot in the multi-res and mixed use area to accommodate, and make it as seamless for the experience for them as possible. So
it's great to hear. And I appreciate vertically integrated companies simply because there's no finger pointing. If it's your wireless lock, you're not pointing at another company on why it doesn't work or a connectivity issue, and then you're not dealing with two different tech supports from us as an integrator, because we've done the integration stuff a lot, and sometimes you just run into it. It's easy to say, we see it fine on our side until this point, and it sounds like a connectivity issue, and then you have to, you're jumping between, and it's not fun. It takes time too. So how can the systems, this is a popular question that we get, and don't worry, we're going to end up cutting pieces of the interview out to get like sound bites. So you don't have to say, even if we like touch on things a second time, it's kind of like in the right context so we can reuse it. So can the system be customized to accommodate different levels of access for tenants, property management, different usage levels on the system?
Absolutely. It's completely customizable to, you can narrow it down to this particular person can only use this door on this day of the week during this time. So we can really take it down to the most minute component there. And it's very common, especially in the multi-tenant space where you have access to certain areas of the buildings, but only during certain time periods. So if the gym closed, you don't have to worry about closing the gym because you limit access. The gym's automatically closed because nobody can get into the gym at that point in time. So same thing with different secure rooms, and the tenants, they can walk into the building. They can also grant visitor access. So, but you can completely control that level of who can do what, who can see what, and when and where.
Nice, yeah. And one-time use codes, you can set those up as well?
Yep, yeah, we can give up a temporary code. Whenever you set anybody up in the system, you can set an automatic expiration date, which is a perfect way for that temporary use. You set them up, and the system does have the ability where you can do multi-factor authentication, where physical card you have plus a code you have, or if you're given like a one-time, you need a plumber to come in, you could just give them a PIN code and have them use that PIN code, and that PIN code could be only active from today at 10 a.m. till 12 p.m.
Got it.
You can always renew it if need be, but you don't have to worry about shutting them off.
Yeah, we actually used the multi-factor authentication on a medical marijuana dispensary, and they loved it. And one other thing you can do with it is you can make it so if you type in one extra digit or type the last digit wrong and you hit enter, it's a silent alarm, not an audible alarm. So it'll still give you access, but now you're essentially telling the police, hey, I have a gun to my back. We're inside the building. Silent alarm, don't set off the siren. And you can do all of these different automations with the system, and it's so helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that, you're controlling people too. How many people, especially in that cannabis world, how many people can be in a room at the same time? We easily do that, is counting people. We can count people. So the three of us go in a room and there's only supposed to be two of us in there. It's not going to let that third person in until that other person comes out, and we can moderate who's in what room at what time, down to the point of if John Herman's my manager, I'm not allowed to go in that room unless John Herman swipes his card first. So really, really nice to be able to control really granular, like John said, of who's in a room, when they're in the room, how long they can be in the room, how many people can be in that room, and then, if you try to override it, our readers will go into an amber flash and it'll signal everyone in the building that someone's trying to do something in the building they shouldn't be doing. Again, it's definitely helps control the different levels of access, like you were asking.
Very, very helpful. So I think we might be duplicating this, but what features do your systems offer to simplify management for property managers across multiple buildings?
Yeah, I think the first thing is customizable status page, floor plan layouts, make it very easy for them to visually manage their properties. So, they can, see exactly what's happening. If there's a door propped open, we can have that indicated with a red flash, as a door opens. And you can really quickly see the status of what's going on with your properties, and not just the property that you're at, your entire enterprise system. And that's completely customizable to what they want. So it's not, it's really designed to fit their needs, with the status pages. And then also, I think with the mobile credentials is a big one, because as we know, especially today, you'll forget your wallet, but you won't forget your cell phone. So, lockouts and needs to let people in, that goes down dramatically by embracing mobile technology.
And how easy is it for a property manager to add or remove access credentials when a tenant moves in and out?
It's depending upon the way you set it up. If you work directly in the ICT system, within 30 seconds, you can add somebody or disable. Disable someone, you can do it in 3 seconds. Yeah. Adding somebody, it's 10, 15 seconds to add somebody. If you have it set up and synchronized with your property management system, literally you add them into your property management system and it will automatically add them into the ICT system. So depending upon which way you go, but either way, it's 30 seconds or less.
Nice. So they don't even have to leave their property management system because of integrations that we've developed and that, you guys have developed as well. Yardi, Rent Manager, both of those come to mind where we can actually put it into the CRM that they use every day. So there really isn't a training protocol for a new property manager. It's just all you have to know is this one software. Here's the field where you control the access levels.
Absolutely. Yeah, all they would do is they would add them like they normally would do, and then they would just sign a credential. So they'd reach in their drawer, grab a credential, put it in, or an electronic credential. Once they put that in, that'll automatically be updated in the system. The same thing is if they had to lock somebody out, they can just go right into that same system, disable, and it'll automatically disable them in the access control system, the ICT system.
Understood. Perfect.
I think, just to add to that is play on when you hand a bunch of cards out to a large company and then you don't get those cards back and people remain in the system. They never really get taken out of the system. You can actually set rules up around your users within GX that says, hey, if Eugene doesn't swipe his card for 7 days, I want to get an email. So we always know if you have an active credential or not. And then when we decide John doesn't work here anymore, we can take it out. And we know it's been taken out because we have backups that are telling us, all right, this card's not being used anymore, we're taking it out of the system. So there's backups upon backups as far as how you can control the flow of your company and the people. And, same on, we were talking about earlier, renting out like a room or doing things like that. You can actually set up alerts that person doesn't close the door. We're hitting their phone with a text saying, go back and close that door. We know it's been left open. You used the basketball court that we rented to you. So there's a lot of different things you can utilize within there as well.
So we've installed that, except we'll do an alarm output at the door for a buzzer. And it's very interesting how people will very quickly close that door when it's ajar.
Yeah, you make it a little bit inconvenient and a little noisy, and
so a little inconvenience goes a little bit.
Amazing how you can modify behavior with a little bit of inconvenience.
Yeah, it's a common one with multifamily residential. The back door gets left open all the time, and it's a huge security risk. Yep. So for that corporate company I was telling you about earlier, the entire warehouse perimeter, every door is alarmed. Not necessarily for fire to go out because they want people to be able to go out, but people propping the door open and not coming back through. So alarming those doors, sending a notification to the manager.
Yeah, a lot of that, all comes back to their safety as well when you think about it, right? So if that back door is left open, the creeper can come in from wherever. And now he's in our building. That's all avoidable. That's all avoidable stuff by doing what you just explained, alarming those doors. So if they're ajar, if they're open, if they're forced open, whatever the scenario is, that something's up with that door. And it doesn't leave it swinging in the breeze, and allowing someone that shouldn't be in there come in.
Yeah, and when you have when it's installed correctly with motion sensor at the door, you'll know whether it was a force open or not being forced open. Makes sense. How does your system handle visitor access in multifamily residential? I know you have an intercom call box, right?
We have an intercom call box. It's a touchscreen, 17-inch touchscreen, and that in conjunction with our tenancy portal will give you the ability. That call box can be connected on its own to basically any system, even other products other than ICT. But if you use it with the ICT GX platform, you can use the tenancy portal, and the tenancy portal will call the customer. If they have a smart device, it'll make a camera connection, one-way video connection, two-way audio. Then you can have a conversation with your visitor and let them in if need be, if you want. If not, no access. It can also contact a regular phone if they don't have a smart device. But we also do support third-party products too. So if somebody has a different platform that they want to work with, those also work with the ICT platform.
How can property managers oversee events and respond to emergencies remotely with ICT?
So we have a mobile app. It's no charge. As long as they have an internet connection, they can browse in to the GX and or a WX system. And really, they can look at their doors, see if something's propped open. We can prop doors, allow access by using the mobile app as well. I can have alerts set up on my phone as well that if a door is propped open for a certain amount of time, it sends me a message that's letting me know that that's happening. So really, we're offering complete control to the property manager, whether they're on site or off site. It doesn't matter. As long as they, like I said, have an internet connection, they can use their laptop or their tablet. Otherwise, there's the phone. The phone doesn't have all of the features, obviously, that the web client has. But there's a lot within the app where I can see if a door's been opened. I can get an alert. I can't change users and things like that in the app yet. But yeah, if I wanted to add a user, as long as I have an internet connection, I can do it from my house. Now, John can stop by the office, pick up a badge, swipe it at a card reader, which is also another way to add a user. I don't even have to type them into the system. I could have you swipe at your ICT card reader. Mm-hmm. It pops up in my GX system as raw data. And then I just type in your name. If you go, you need your site code and your card number is already in there, and you're good to go.
So that's really any customizable notifications they want. I think a good way to kind of sum up what we can do. It's really whatever they want, we can do it for them, or they want to be notified.
How do your access control solutions cater to the diverse security needs of the manufacturing industry and aerospace?
Well, we have a food manufacturing facility in upstate New York, and they were using one of our competitors, a high-end, and they wanted to have a feature where the people that were working, it's a FDA-regulated building. So the people that were going into these clean rooms, they needed to have proof that when I walked into this man trap, I could go through the first door, I could swipe, and it would give me access and allow me into the man trap. Then what they wanted to happen is a picture is taken of that person. They have their clean gear on, they have their hood on, they have their marshmallow suit, I call it, on. And then after that picture's taken, they're compliant that the pictures, then it allows them to swipe at the next door. So features like that, to me, are huge. That they need to be FDA compliant. We're making that happen for them. So we're taking that picture, we're keeping them in the man trap till we know that picture is compliant until they're even allowed to swipe at the next reader. So features like that, I think, are huge, as far as, in the manufacturing and those kind of facilities where we can customize and make that happen. And that happens in our system right out about their client. You don't need to go buy all these additional licenses to make that happen. It just works. And you just set up the rules within the GX system to make that feature work. It's already there. But to me, that's what comes to mind. I think the dual authentication as well, like in the banking scenario where you're doing a biometric, like John was talking about earlier, and then you're doing a card, or vice versa. I'm doing a card, then a PIN. I'm doing a PIN, then a card. Or I can't go into that vault unless I have John with me. Huge. To be able to really control the happenings of any door or that room, or even how many people are in a room, to me is, it's a game changer as far as, we're putting our hands all the way around the access control, whether it's on the safety side or the compliancy side, compliance side. I don't think that's a word, compliancy, the compliance side, maintaining, being compliant.
Yeah, the multi-factor authentication, really what it comes down. In any way, shape, or form they want to have that, ICT has the ability to incorporate that customizable for them.
That's great. And can your systems provide a detailed audit trail or report for compliance purposes? I'm sure, judging by all of the different ways we can control the door, we must be able to report on it, right?
Absolutely. Everything that happens within ICT is stored in a database that we give our end users full access to, part of our standard product, standard reporting tool, where they can drill into any details within that system. So everything that's done is recorded into the database, and then you can drill into that. Customizable reports, which you can schedule, have automatically delivered and slice and dice it any way they see fit, whether it's a one-time ad hoc report or a reoccurring report that happens.
That's great. And if we don't have an answer to this, how do your products help manufacturing and aerospace comply with standards such as ITAR or AS9100 or other ISO standards that might be something they're striving to achieve?
I don't know what ITAR is, but the ISO standard. I mean, really, it's like anything. Manufacturing it's all about standardization. So we can really make sure. So the same thing, just like we're controlling doors and access, we can make sure before anyone does a particular task, they have to scan in order to use a machine. All of those different things throughout the process. You can do that. So we can really help them not only verify that somebody is in the right state, the right position on that line, but also then in turn, as you scan, you also have a track and an audit trail of who that person was, the time and date of that. So really help to tie to those standards.
Got it. And I'm sure there's some type of integration with a tool room or something like that where they have to swipe into a tool room and give compartmentalized access. So now you know who went into a room and you can snap a picture with the cameras that are integrated and you have a picture saved in your access control system of the person who used the fob. So you know it's John that used the fob. You require him to go to the tool room first before he goes to another section. Otherwise, he can't fob into that section.
Exactly. Yep. And to the extent that it could be into a room, into a cabinet, into a closet. So the more control points that they have in place, the more control you can wrap around to it. And with ICT, it's unlimited number of, users and door contacts or device contacts. So you're really unlimited and scalable there.
Yeah, and to add to the manufacturing side as well, I mean, we actually have a reader that's mountable to any machine that they have to put their card into that slot in order to even use that machine. So again, on the manufacturing side and control even the machine, like, John was saying, to go into this door and then that door and then maybe a tool room, then maybe they're using a big press or a lathe or something like that. We can actually put access control on that machine so that I know John has showed up for work. He's on that machine because his card is sitting on that machine, so I know he's there. And he's using that machine. He used it from 10 a.m., he used it all the way to 12, and then he pulled his card out, and the machine shut down. So, again, just another added feature that on the manufacturing side that ICT gives you the ability to do.
Got it. So you can track if he's coming in and out, leaving all the time. It'll track. I'm sure it can't track necessarily whether the machine's being used, but I'm sure you can set it to take pictures from a camera above the machine at a certain interval and make sure that he's there for compliance reasons. Very helpful. So, that's all that I've got, guys. I think we've covered a lot of great points for multifamily residential and everything from manufacturing to multifamily residential, and I appreciate you guys coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you for the matcha. I liked it.
For the
It
matcha.
was good. It was good.
How was it? I see it's mostly gone now.
Yeah,
so
no, I liked it. It was good. I'll try it. Wait, can you get matcha
Yeah, where do you get
Dunkin'
matcha?
have matcha?
So you can get matcha pretty much anywhere, but there's a lot of different grades of matcha. So if you just buy the cheap Amazon stuff, it's okay, but there's some additives, just like anything else. There's ironically a million different types, and now there are some companies out there that are selling the leaf and a grinder, so you grind up the leaf yourself, kind of like how you make your own coffee beans. You grind your own coffee. I haven't gotten that crazy with it yet. I found a good place online and I go direct to the source. So they get it direct from Japan and they work directly with the farmers. And I like, you're working directly with the farmer, you're getting it. It's minimal processing. Some of the ones you find in Whole Foods or some of the stores there, they have some additives. If you go to Starbucks and get it, full of sugar. Yeah, I've gotten it there and I'm like, man, I use no sugar. I don't do any sugar. I think it's good without it. But some people like to do sugar in it, but that comes from the...
Yeah, I'm sure it depends on what you mix it with. That's the thing, is if it was a sweetened oat milk, that would change that significantly. Gotcha. Reduce the health benefits. Excellent.
Awesome. Can I keep this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.